Concerning the several natures of deity, it may be said the Father is self-existent self, the Son is coexistent self, the Spirit is conjoint existent self, the Supreme is evolutionary and experimental self, the Sevenfold is the self-distributary divinity, the ultimate is the transcendental and experimental self, and the seventh is the absolute, is existential and experimental, as experiential self, as you experience. While God, the sevenfold, is indispensable to the evolutionary attainment to the supreme and the attributes of the indispensable to the eventual emergence of the ultimate, and the ideal presence of the supreme and the ultimate constitutes the basic association of subordinate and derived deity, for they are interdependently complemental in the attainment of destiny. Together, they constitute the experiential bridge linking the beginning and the completions of all creative growth in the master universe. Creative growth is unending but ever satisfying, endless in the extent but always punctured and punctuated by those personality and satisfying moments of the transient goal of attainments, in which you serve so effectively as the mobilization preludes and the new adventures in cosmic growth, universe exploration, and deity attainment. While the dominion of mathematics is beset with qualitative limitations, it does provide the infinite mind with the conceptual basis in contemplating infinity. There is no quantitative limitation to the numbers and the conceived, as you always have an envisage of one or more of the being added, and also you can comprehend that that is short of infinity. For no matter how many times you repeat this addition to the number, you still always have one more to be added. And at the same time, the infinite series can be totaled at any given point, and at this total more properly. The subtotal provides the fullness of the sweetness of the goal and attainment for a given person at a given time and status, but sooner or later this person begins to hunger and yearns for more of, or yearns for more of grace and greater level goals. As such adventures and goals and will be forever forthcoming in the fullness of time and in the cycles of eternity. Each successive universe age is the antechamber of the following era of cosmic growth, and each universe epically provides immediate destiny for all preceding stages of Havana, and of itself is perfect in the perfection limited creation. Havana perfection expanding out in the evolutionary superuniverses finds not only the cosmic destiny but also the liberation from limitations of pre-evolutionary existence. It is helpful to man's cosmic orientation to attain all possible comprehension of deity's relation to the cosmos. While absolute deity and eternal in nature, the gods are related to time as in experience in eternity. In the evolutionary universes, eternity is temporal and everlastingness. The everlasting now. The personality of the mortal creature may eternalize the self-identification for the indwelling spirit through the technique of choosing to do their will of the Father. Such of a consecration of the will and a tantamount to the realization of the eternity reality of purpose. This means that for that purpose of the creature has been fixed to regard the succession of moments. Stated otherwise, that the succession will to the change of the creature in purpose. A million or billion moments make no difference. Number has ceased to have been of meaning with regard to the creature's purpose. Thus does the creature choice plus God's choice eventuate in the eternal realities of the never-ending union of the Spirit of God and the nature of man and the everlasting services of the children of God and of their Paradise Father. There is a direct relationship between maternity and the unit of the time of consciousness in any of the given intellect and time unit may be a day, a year, or even longer, but inevitably it is the criterion by which the consciousness self-evaluates and all the circumstances of its life, and by which of the conceiving intellectual measures of the and evaluates these facts of temporal existence. Experience, wisdom, and judgment are the commitments of the lengthening of the time and the union of the immortal and mortal experience. As the human mind reckons backwards into the past, it is evaluating its future for the purpose of bringing it up to bring and bear on a present situation. As mind reaches into the future, it is attempting to evaluate the future significance of possible action. And having thus reckoned with both experiences of wisdom and human will, exercises judgment, decision in the present, and the plan of action thus born of the past, the present, and the future becomes existent. In the maturity of the developing self, the past of the future, and are brought together and to illuminate the true meaning of the present. As the self matures, it reaches further and further back into the past for experiences. When its wisdom is forecast and seeks to penetrate deeper and deeper into the unknown, and the conceiving self extends this time and reach and even further, both past and future, so does the judgment become less and dependent on the momentary present. In this way, the decision action begin to escape and from the fetters of the moving present, while it begins to take on the aspects of past and future significance. Patience is exercised by these mortals whose time units are short. True maturity and transcends patience by forbearance born of real understanding. To become mature is to live more intensely in the present, and at the same time escaping from the limitations of the present. The plans of maturity founded on the past, present, and the coming into the being in the present is such manner as to enhance the values of the future. The time unit of immaturity concentrates meaning, value into the existence moments of the such as to divorce the present in all of its true relationships to the non-present. The past, the future, the time of maturity is proportioned so to reveal the co-coordinate relationship of the past, present, and future that the self begins to gain insight into the wholeness of events, begins to view the landscape of the time and paranormic perspective of a broadened horizons, begins to perhaps suspect of non-beginning, non-ending, and eternal continuum, the fragments of which are called time. On these levels of the infinite and absolute, the moment of the contains of the past as well as the future. I am also signifying that I am and I will be, as it represents out of the concept of eternity and into the eternal absolute level of potential, and just a meaning of reality bound to the creatures, the time that appear here in the vast absolute ascending to who and what has made the eternal decision as already the paradise and finaliter, but the universal Father in the indwelling thought adjuster is not limited to the awareness, and that of the participant of the temporal struggle and the problems of the creature, animal-like to God levels of existence. Omnipresence and ambiguity. Ambiguity is the of deity must be not confused with the ultimacy of the divine omnipresence. It is volatile with the universal Father, and that of the supreme, the ultimate, is the absolute, and should comprehensive and to compensate, co-coordinate, and to unify his ultimate time-space ambiguity, and his time and space transcended of the omnipresence and omnipotent, timeless, and spaceless, universal, absolute presence, and should be remembered that the deity of ambiguity may be often as space associated is not necessarily time conditioned. Only by this ambiguity could defy and unify time manifestations to the infinite comprehension. You are, after all, the perspective and time analysis of space and integrating insight of personality to all the animal worlds, and only which thus has possesses the time-space of perceptual ability. To an animal, motion has a meaning, but motion exhibits value only to a creature of personality, of status. Things are time conditioned, but truth is timeless. The more you know, the more you are, and the truth of who you are, and the more of the past you can understand is the more of the future that you can comprehend. Truth is inconclusible, forever exempt from all translucent vicissitudes, alibit and never dead and formal, always vibrant and adaptable, radiantly alive. But when truth becomes limited with fact, and both time and space conditions its meanings to correlate its values, such realities of truth wedded to fact becomes concept, as are accordingly regulated to the domain of the relative cosmic realities. In other words, where you are the product of your environment. If you limit yourself there and don't have an imagination, you're limited to that environment. But if you have your imagination and imagine yourself out of that environment, you can have the cosmic reality of going into that environment. So the linking of the absolute and eternal truth of the Creator with the factual experience of the infinite temporal creature and new emerging co-coordinates of the divine and under-changing overworld with the infinite and ever-changing underworld. Space comes the nearest of all non-absolute things to being absolute. Space is merely and absolutely ultimate. The real difficulty here is to have understanding. Space is on the material world due to the fact that material bodies exist in space. Some also exist in these same material bodies. Well, there is such and so much about these absolute that it does mean that the space is absolute. It may be a help to understanding that the relationships, if you would have conjecture that relativity and speaking these space as the alternative and alter of the all property and all material bodies. Hence, when a body moves through space, as it tries and also takes all of its properties, all of its patterns of reality, and occupy the time and space of the levels of spirit patterns, which only consist in the relation of space. They do not occupy, nor do they space, neither do they contain it. But to us, the master, the riddle of space pertains to the pattern of an idea. And when we enter into the mind and domain, we enter into a puzzle that's like a never-ending labyrinth. The pattern, the reality of an idea to occupy a space, but we really do not know the alphabet of what we are sure that an idea pattern does not contain. Space and time, but it would be hardly safe to postulate that this immaterial is always non-partial.